I think it's 1 o'clock, so we are ready to start. And hello, everyone. I can see people joining. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Ilaria Parodi of the International Schools team at Pearson. And on behalf of the whole team, I'd like to give you a very warm welcome to today's webinar. We are absolutely delighted to have you here today to talk about primary math and specifically about Power Math, Wairos Math Edition. Before I introduce our speakers, I would like to draw your attention to the slide on the screen, which outlines our housekeeping rules for today's webinar. Can you please take a few moments to familiarize yourself with the content on the slide? A couple of things to notice. If you got any technical queries, and you need to communicate with us, please use the chat box as you're doing now. And if you would like to pose questions on today's webinar topics, please use the Q&A box. There will be time for questions at the end of the webinar, and so we'll try to go through as many of the questions as you pose then. The webinar today is going to last for about 30 to 40 minutes, I would say, and there will be time for questions at the end. And also the webinar is going to be recorded, and the recording will be available from our website in the next 24 to 48 hours from the end of today's webinar. We will email you to let you know that it's available with a link to the page where you can find it, so you'll be able to watch it again on demand should you wish to do so. And now, without any further ado, I am delighted to introduce our speakers for today, Kevin Hyatt and Leah Hopkinson. Leah Hopkinson is a product manager in the International Schools team, Schools curriculum team at Pearson. She leads on our international iPrimary and our lower secondary curriculum and its huge range of supporting resources. And Kevin Hyatt is the head of international teaching and learning resources within the International Schools curriculum team at Pearson. Kevin has worked in education for over 15 years, and he was previously a teacher and a senior leader. And now it's time for me to hand the time over to Leah and Kevin. Leah and Kevin, over to you now.
Great. Thank you, Ilaria. Thanks for that introduction. And thank you to everyone who's joined the call today. As Ilaria said, my name's Leah. I'm a product manager in the international curriculum team, and I look after our international primary and lower secondary resources and curriculum. So I'm really excited to talk to you today about Power Maths, in particular, the new Wairos Maths editions. So just to give you an overview of what we're going to be covering, we're going to be looking into a little bit on what the maths mastery approach is. And you could definitely do an hour's webinar just on that. So it's very much an overview and a reminder. We'll look into what growth mindset is, and then I'll hand over to Kevin to look more closely at Power Maths itself, or the components, the new Wairos Maths editions, and what those updates and improvements look like within the pages of the books. And that should be quite a quick 20 or 30-minute session, because we wanted to make sure that there was lots of time at the end for any questions that you might have as well. But first, I think there is a quick poll that should appear on your screens, if Ilaria can initiate that. So it's just a quick poll on how familiar you are with maths mastery and the mastery approach in general. If you could take a minute to answer that, that would be great. I assume I'm going to be giving an overview to people who are already very familiar with maths mastery, but let me know, Ilaria, when you think that we've got enough results in, and I think we can flash up the results on screen.
Sure. I think we can probably do it now.
Go for it. Wow, great. So we've got most people being slightly familiar with maths mastery, and some people are you know, they are familiar with it but don't follow it. Okay, that's the fewest amount, but some people do follow it in their school. Some people don't know what maths mastery is. That's great. A real spread there. That's fine. I'm going to hopefully give you an overview to just give you an idea of what maths mastery and what the maths mastery approach is, and then we'll look at how that's sort of implemented in these Power Maths White Rose Maths editions. Great. So what actually is maths mastery? So there's a quote, I believe, on the next screen. Thank you. About how the best maths classrooms are those where students learn number facts and sense through interactive and engaging activities. So not just through purely memorization. So I think we can probably all agree with that sentiment on this call, but it's essentially about ensuring maths is more than just repetition. It's obviously a lot about practice, but actually engaging children and looking at the real life applications of maths too. So I'd like for you now to type into the chat what you think it means to master something. So when do you know that you've become a master of a certain skill? That could be learning an instrument or a recipe. Feel free to include those examples as well. So how did you know the point where you became a master in a certain skill? Maybe you could do it without thinking, you just knew it. Please do share in the chat. And if no one answers, I'll pick on Kevin or Ilaria.
Yeah, I can't see any answers, but my computer is there. There they are. When a child can teach another a concept they have taught. This is from Rachel. Sukaina says, when you're able to apply, you know, when you're able to do it without help and can apply it.
Yeah, I can see
Rachel says, sorry, when a child can teach another concept they have learned.
Yeah, right. So it's sort of like an understanding of the concept and being able to do it without thinking. I think, Kevin, can you move on to the next slide there? So yeah, I think you were covering all of these ideas. So doing it to a high level, able to repeat it, you're confident in there. So I think we mentioned being able to share that knowledge with other learners, becoming automatic, not requiring deep thought, and becoming so good at it that you can do it with ease, able to explain it to someone else, and feeling much more confident in your ability. Great, thank you. So it's all about maths mastery in particular is an approach to teaching and learning maths that gives students that deep understanding, that secure grounding in the fundamentals before moving on to the next stage. So they feel all of those things before they get to grips with the sort of next concept. So one of the key principles of the mastery approach is all about encouraging the development of a growth mindset as well, rather than a fixed mindset. So that's a perceived idea of what students either can or cannot do. So the mastery approach sort of rejects that idea that some students just can't do maths. That was definitely how I felt at school. I just thought I didn't have a maths brain, I couldn't do it. And the mastery approach suggests that all pupils can achieve with hard work and effort. So I think there's a quote on the next slide from Carol Dweck, who is a psychology professor who researched motivation and mindsets in her studies. And she talks a lot about how acquiring a growth mindset can really build stronger relationships with learning for students. So they understand that getting things wrong, struggling, developing that resilience and achieving is all part of their own learning journey. And they're not sort of intimidated by that. And so growth mindsets really start to take ownership of that learning journey. And so what kind of thoughts might you have in a fixed mindset? So what might a student be thinking if they were in a fixed mindset? Please could you share your answers in the chat? So what kind of things go through the head if you think that a student has a fixed mindset? I can't do this, that kind of thing. I'll give you a minute to share your answers.
some answers coming through. It's impossible. It's too hard. I can't do this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all those really negative thoughts which just aren't helpful in learning. They're just a sort of barrier and an obstacle to learning. So yeah, I've made a mistake. This is too hard. I just can't do this. I'm not good at this. I'll never be smart. I'll never manage this, that kind of thing. So how might we sort of reframe those thoughts into a growth mindset? What would you expect a student to be thinking in a growth mindset? Please do share your answers. I can't do this yet, with a big smiley face. I like that one.
Exactly. I can do this yet, or I think I can do it.
I can give it a try.
Give it
Exactly.
a try is great.
Let me try. Yeah. Going to find another way. Exactly. Not just one way of doing things. Yeah, different methods.
It's great.
Yeah, exactly. So we're all very familiar with what kind of thinking we want to sort of encourage in students, and that growth mindset that's a lot more helpful to the learning journey and setting them on the right path in terms of maths. So we'll look at how Power Maths embeds this now, and I will hand over to Kevin to talk about Power Maths in a bit more detail.
Thanks, Leah. Thank you for that great summary of the ideas around mastery and also for growth mindset as well. So I'm going to be talking about Power Maths. So hopefully there's some familiarity with Power Maths, and lots of you might already be using Power Maths in your school, or you might have spoken to someone about it. It's our whole school primary maths mastery program, and it's designed to promote great maths learning for the development of a growth mindset, the embedding of a concrete pictorial abstract approach, and to develop solid mathematical reasoning and thinking and promote varied approaches and understanding in mathematics. All of those real kind of core tenets of maths mastery that Leah just spoke about. So you can see here some of the components that go into it, such as the teaching tools for digital games, for high quality textbooks, practice books, and so on. But mostly today, I'm going to be focusing on the updates to it for the new White Rose Maths edition. So you can see here just a few examples of the books. So everything that has been done, it's important to say, is based on feedback from Power Maths users. We know lots of people absolutely love Power Maths, but taking on a growth mindset ourselves, we've taken on board the idea that things can always be better. So we've taken on board improvements and suggestions, and I hope to explain them over the next few slides. We're calling this the White Rose edition because it's fully aligned with the White Rose Maths Schemes of Work and Progression, produced by the big UK Multi-Academy Trust, who are specialising in the delivery of high-quality mastery maths teaching. So the first thing to say is that there are new textbooks, but that digital subscribers to Power Maths will automatically have access to both the new White Rose edition and the original Power Maths, helping to ease that transition and ensure access to the relevant ordered resources and planning as you make the change, and allowing you to make the change at your own pace as well. So what's different? I'm going to talk in a bit more detail about some of the specific changes that have been made, but just in summary. So firstly, there's a few changes in the order of the units. Secondly, the order of the lessons themselves has changed in some cases. And thirdly, there's been some improvements to the usability and accessibility of lessons for the learner as well. So taking that first point, the changes to the order of teaching and the length of time given to some topics. On the screen right now, you can see an example of a Year 1 overview. I'm not going to go into loads of depth right now, but when you have a look at these, either on the platform or with a Pearson representative, you'll see they're quite similar to the current overviews, but there are some differences. The updates that have happened take into account guidance from professional mathematics bodies, as well as actual practical classroom practice and feedback. This means that some topics now have a little bit more time, some a little bit less, And one of the real key bits of feedback we got was there's more opportunities for reflection and consolidation rather than just continuing to rush through. And as you can see from this overall picture, the progression is more aligned across the year groups as well. It used to be a lot more staggered. This can help with mixed age classes, and it can also help with senior leadership, just tracking what's going on and what topics are being covered across the school as well. And then within some of those units, we've updated the flow of lessons. So an example on the screen, I've got year 3 fractions. So year 3 is a pretty key year for developing an understanding of fractions. And one of the bits of feedback here was around the amount of time given to the topic and the presumptions around prerequisite knowledge. So this new sequence allows you to go back to basics and make sure children are really secure over the course of 10 lessons. Other units, though, might have fewer lessons based again on feedback and the level of understanding that was actually being shown. So everything still fits neatly into the year. And as I've already said, there's loads of more opportunities now for consolidation and reflection to ensure that things are properly embedded. Now we can have a quick look at some of the changes to the lessons and the books themselves as well. So we've got an example here of an original page and a new page, and you'll see there's some quite simple changes, but they're quite key. So we've reduced the content on pages where feedback was that the cognitive load was too high. It was just too busy and there was too much going on for a child to really properly access it and understand what the key learning was. And where there was too much variety in maths modelling happening too quickly as well, we've simplified that as well. So although one of the key ideas behind mastery is giving children multiple tools and multiple ways of tackling a problem, sometimes it was happening too quickly and there was some confusion. So now we're making sure a method is really secure before moving on to the next one. There's now also looking at the practice books. There's more freedom now for children to answer questions in their own way and actually apply those different methods that work for them. You did tell us that sometimes there was too much structure, and that freedom was needed to explore and apply effective methodology. And you can see here there's the opportunity with still the same questions, but it's just a bit less structured in some cases to give children that opportunity. And looking again at the practice books here, we've kept the opportunity for children to practice and apply the learning, but tried to simplify the pages and make them less busy. But we've also built in the opportunity to build fluency through repeated practice, something that you told us that Power Maths needed more of, where we'd look at a concept and then move on to the next one too quickly before there was, again, time to really embed it. So there's much more opportunities now just for that consolidation, and it's reinforced with practice books. And then we spoke about usability and accessibility. So there's lots of tweaks to the pages, to the cognitive load, but there's some really simple things around accessibility, making it easier for children to engage as well. And this has happened digitally and in print. So for example, here with the fruit, it seems like a really simple idea, but actually for really young children, just being able to really clearly identify what that thing is and distinguish between the different items makes a huge difference, especially when you're very beginning of your learning journey, just being able to separate out those items and really focus on what they are. And then in the teacher guides, we've also made some modifications here. So although lessons can still begin with power-ups, which are an excellent start or introduction to a lesson or a topic, we've now got an alternate, which is a quick recap option, which you can use at the start of a lesson. This is an alternative starter. You recap prior learning and you check the building blocks and prerequisites are in place to support that lesson's content. Of course, if you're confident and you want to move on, then use the power-ups instead. There's also a host of new content in there as well. So probably the biggest individual addition are the practice games. So these practice games, in fact, all of these will work alongside both the old and new books. The practice games include 480 pupil games for years 1 to 6, each mapped to a curriculum objective. They provide excellent retrieval practice for key facts and skills. They're great for pupil engagement. They're an opportunity to provide support, core and extend activities. And there's a level of gamification through the self-marking and the reporting here. So the reporting goes to a teacher, but there's also rewards for children that goes to their own pupil world area on Active Learn Primary. They're compatible with tablets, they're really flexible for homework or in school practice, catch-up sessions, or however you want to use them as well. And then secondly, the PowerPoints for Power Ops, Discover, Share, Think Together, and practice sessions of each Power Maths lesson have been updated. There's also brand new PowerPoints for the quick recap and vocabulary sections in Year 1 especially, which are designed to help with retrieval practice. But again, these are optional and they're just another opportunity for you to use things flexibly, and they can be implemented depending on the needs of an individual class. And then we've also improved our on-platform professional development as well. So for each area, discover, share, think together, and practice. These are the key elements of a Power Maths lesson as you move through. There's an example of a lesson from most year groups in the notes section. And there's also videos of real lessons taught in a Power Maths school. So you can see what good practice looks like and how Power Maths actually works within a classroom. This PD can be used individually and watched as and when it's needed, but it could also be used as a team for whole school professional development or maths team professional development as well. And then just to summarize, so we've spoken about some of the changes, summarize some of these and some of the additions as well. I hope it's given a good overview of the changes that have been made to Power Maths and the reasons for them, which is all from feedback from actual users, from you. But it's still really confident that Power Maths is still the best cutting edge maths mastery course that's out there. It's been updated entirely based on feedback, and it's still truly engaging, effective course that's proven in classrooms as well. So I hope that's helpful. There's going to be an opportunity now to ask questions about anything you've heard, about Power Maths, about maths mastery, and we'll do our best to help. And if there's anything we can't answer now, we can get back to our Power Maths experts and answer you later. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And I think if people now would like to share or ask your questions using the Q&A box. I can't see any questions coming through. Actually, yes. William is asking whether you could provide any updates on the test.
So if we're talking Power Maths here, so there's a brand new assessment pack that's been released, aligned to the new White Rose Maths edition. Also, all of the end of unit checks and all of the tests within the programme and the formative assessment opportunities have also been updated.
Thank you, Kevin. And there are, thank you, William. And Rachel is asking, will there be any opportunities in the future of the production of a Power Maths homework book?
So there's currently suggestions for homework within the programme. There's no specific homework book, and currently there's no plans for a homework book. But if it is something people are interested in, then I would ask that you just keep telling us that, and we can feed that into our plans for the future.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Kevin. I can't see any other questions, so maybe I could pose one. How do you set the games for homework?
Okay, I can do that. Give me 1 second. So really, really quickly, if you have, just see if I can, sorry, go to Active Learn. So if you have a Power Maths subscription, you just log into Active Learn. I definitely do have access for it because I'm in another Pearson platform as well. And then it's really simple. So there's a few different ways you can do it. I would probably go to Power Maths, look at resources, and then I would filter to the particular area I wanted to support. Sorry, it's a bit slow, home Wi-Fi. So let's say I'm teaching year 2. I want support for, say, fractions in year 2. And then straight away, we've got the individual practice games. There's 3 of them supporting fractions in year 2. And then I will have set my class up in advance in admin, or I will have imported a file with their details in, and then I can select whichever game I wanted. So we've got 3 different levels here: support, core, and extend. And I want to select which one and then allocate, and then I can allocate it to children in my class. I could also, if I've set it up correctly, allocate it to a whole group, or even an entire cohort. So I haven't set up a cohort here, but it could be every single child within a year group.
There's a few questions around whether there are any tests for Key Stage 1. I was just wondering if you could, while you're in Active Learn, show the end of unit tests across the year groups. And
Yep.
There was a question around workbook samples for year 1 that we can see, but it might just be an idea to just share what that looks like on the screen. And then I think there are samples available on the website.
Yes, absolutely. So just give me 1 second. Okay, so within the books, there's end of unit checks. So we were talking about what that looks like earlier on. So if we go to year 1, let's say, so it looked very different to say year 6. So this is year 1, unit 1, an end of unit check. So this is in the practice book, and you can see, it's just checking your learning. It's a chance for the child to answer the questions and for you to check their understanding here as well. Then there's also a separate assessment pack, which includes tests for, I think, years 1 to 6, which is slightly more formal assessments and more assessments as well. So unfortunately, that's not part of the subscription I've got set up here, but that's paper-based anyway. So there are samples on the website, and I think we can share the link to them. And then I'm really sorry, Leah, what was the other thing that you mentioned?
Just showing the workbook samples for year 1. So it'd just be a good idea to show what the workbook looks like for year 1 on screen if we.
Okay, absolutely. So I've got on-screen versions of the workbooks here. I will say that the workbooks themselves are internationally available as print only due to rights restrictions, but they do work better as write-in print books anyway. So this is just an example. So yeah.
And also, since we're talking about workbooks, Sukaina's asking whether workbooks are available for all classes.
Absolutely. Yep, there's workbooks for all classes. So this is for year 1, first book 1A. It follows the same order as the textbook. Obviously, it maps to what you've been doing within the actual lessons here. So it provides another opportunity for reinforcement and, like it says, practice. So there's a little bit here. This is more kind of adult facing because the children are very young. You'd read through it with them, but just explaining how to use it and what the point of it is. So we're starting really, really simple here at the start of year 1. Nice, accessible content, simplified for children to practice those skills that they've been learning in class.
That's great. Thank you very much. And I think I can see questions in the chat and in the Q&A box. So I'll just start with the Q&A box. Where do I find lesson starters from Ivana?
Lesson starters. So if you have your digital subscription set up, I would probably go to planning. Oh, that's the wrong course. Hang on. Power Maths White Rose Mathematician. And then let's move to a different year. Let's have a look at year 5, for example. So we've got the overview here, but then we want to go more specifically. Let's have a look at unit 1. So straight away, we've got the whole lesson plan here. We've got the starter and the link to the starter here. That's the actual thing. We've got the Unit 1 teacher guide that links out for a PDF with all of the teacher notes as well. So it's within the planning area on the platform.
Thank you, Kevin. And there is a question from Pedro in chat, has been there a while. So Pedro's asking, is the assessment pack purchased separately? I think there's something that you touched upon before. Are there any specific assessments for each unit?
Yes and yes. So the more formal assessment pack is a separate purchase. It's printable. It's a one-time purchase. And there's a specific test for each unit. That's
great, thank you. And William is asking, any material that helps the year 6 in revision to the achievement test. So any material that helps year 6 in revising for the achievement test.
There's not specific revision material here. So the idea with the mastery course is if you've followed it in its order all the way through, then you have mastered it. So it's simply the idea of following that course and providing children with the confidence and the tools to be in a good place to take that test. So, I mean, my suggestion would there really be follow the course.
And Andrew in Ghana is asking, he would like to know the reason for 3 maths textbooks. For example, in year 3, you have 3A, 3B, and 3C.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the structure. So PowerMaths follows a really careful, worked through structure that provides familiarity to the children with the approach that they take to each lesson and each problem, so that whenever they're introducing new topics, they've already got that security and chance to explore, but within a framework. That framework does have a lot of structure within those books. So it would actually be incredibly hard to still have that same proven effective structure just within one book, unless it was absolutely massive. So A, B, and C can be said to reflect terms, but really it's for teaching order, and it's making sure no one book is unmanageable.
Thank you. One question from Ivana. Ivana is asking whether workbooks can be worked with on screen too.
So the workbooks are only available in print internationally. So they are some rights issues around having them online internationally. But as I say, I mean, because they are being written into by the children, it's a chance for them to engage with it and manipulate it. They do actually work better in print.
Thank you, Kevin. And there is a question that says, kindly, where can I locate the assessments?
Okay, so this
is about the assessment packs. I think the initial question was whether we had assessment packs for years 1 and 2. So, and Key Stage 1. So yeah, just confirming that we've got assessment packs across all years 1 to 6. And they are available on our website. I think we can share a link to where they are. They are a separate purchase, aren't they, Kevin?
Yes, they are.
Packs. Yeah.
And I think I can only see these questions in chat and in the Q&A box. So I think this is all, unless some of you can see other questions and I can't because my computer is lagging a little bit. Actually, one is just popped up. Leah, would you like to go for it?
So the question is, are there getting started activities, end of unit tests, check your progress at the end of each unit? Kevin?
Yes.
I think it's a yes.
Yeah.
And then there is another question from William, just the feedback in terms of budgeting. I hope we're not editing the book again.
So there's absolutely no plans to change or edit the book again, unless it would be very minor tweaks, say if it was like an error or something like that. But there's not going to be any reordering or change to the book for a while.
And then there is a question from Mohammed, who's asking within how many months we have to finish these books?
So the year, I mean, if it's a question about how long the course lasts, so each year group is based around approximately 30 weeks of teaching time a year. So it's about 10 weeks per book, but it is flexible.
Thank you. And I'm just going to type the PowerMaths website, the URL in the chat.
Yeah, I think if we could share the URL and a contact email address, that'd be good. I think you have
My email, I've shared my email address. So if people have any questions, concerns, etc., you are more than welcome to contact me. And there is another question from Richard and Ghana. I'd like to know whether we have computing textbooks and their teaching materials apart from the soft copies on Pearson curriculum.
Sorry, was that a question about computing textbooks?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. So we have 6 computing textbooks and 6 computing workbooks for primary, and then 3 of each for lower secondary as well. So they are available digitally, and they're also available in a hard copy to purchase as well on the website.
Thank you. And I think these are all the questions. All the questions for today. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you everyone so much for signing in. It's great that you've taken the time out of your day to do this. I hope it was helpful. The recording will be made available, and if there's any more questions or any follow-up, I think you've got contact details, and we'd be really, really happy to try and help you.
Kevin, there's one last question. Sorry, this has just come through. It's about global citizenship textbook, asking whether the handbooks are available.
What do we mean by handbook? Do we mean a teacher handbook?
I guess.
So on the presumption that we mean that, so the Global Citizenship workbooks do work as standalone, but if you want the teaching resources as well, so if you're an IPLS school, an iPrimary school, or an ILO secondary school, you've automatically got access to all of those teaching resources. If you're not, then there is on our website a section for global citizenship, and there should be details about our standalone global citizenship whole school subscription, which provides the curriculum, the tests, lesson planning, worksheets, and more for the teacher.
It was more about the textbook, whether the textbooks are available.
So global citizenship has a write-in workbook format. So unfortunately, the subject didn't support a separate textbook and workbook because of the level of demand. So the workbooks actually have loads of student-directed information in there already, as well as providing an opportunity for them to record their learning.
Thank you. I think this is all. If you have further questions, I share my email address in chat. You're more than welcome to email me directly, and then I will direct your questions as appropriate to the right colleague. But thank you very much, Leah and Kevin, for a really great session, very interesting. And thank you very much to you all for attending our session today. Just a couple of things to remember before we leave. The recording of this webinar will be available on our website in the next day or two. We will email you with a link to the recording, so you'll be able to watch it again on demand or share it with your colleagues, etc. And also, we really will appreciate if you could complete the webinar survey. It's a very quick one, just to let Leah and Kevin know the really great job they've done today. And in case there is obviously any room for improvements, we embrace a growth mindset. So please, if you could do that, that'd be really great. Thank you very much. And I think this is all. So thank you again. Have a good rest of the day and a good rest to your week. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.